removing guns here and there, abusing others, beating others, plotting cases upon others.
Gold Track High School students who test positive for COVID-19 to miss vacation, according to the Ghana Health Service.
Any school that has had any positive case in the last 2 weeks, the assessment will be done to identify those who are contacts, and if any of them is in that class, their vacation will be delayed.
Also, renowned lawyer Chachu Chikata refuses to argue NDC review of voter registration case. We have details as the court dismisses the matter.
Chachu Chikata was of the view that just grant me an adjournment, which will enable me read through the processes that were filed and served on me whilst I'm on my feet.
And in business,
National Labour Commission reviews 48% of COVID-19 related job losses were carried out unfairly.
There should be grounds for termination, but there's this erroneous impression about the fact that you have the right to hire and fire.
And later in this bulletin, Minister of Education Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh makes bold declaration by comparing 3 years of Akufo-Addo's administration to that of the country's first president, Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Famous statement that if free SHS was doable, Nkrumah would have done it. Can I also then say, since His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has delivered the free SHS, his government probably is better than Nkrumah's government.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144.
Ana takama da police wanda ke fawa an gwada muna police kowa fito da polisan shi to Allah mu ana takama da police na yi kuma muna da fawa muna policai.
They boast of police. We are in power and you want to intimidate us with police. Let everybody come out with their police. We are in power. We also have our police.
That's the sound of a man who was at the center of disturbances at Abuabo number 1 in Kumasi on Monday. Some residents of Abuabo have described him, who also pulled the pistol at the registration center, as one of the thugs who have been harassing residents in that area. One of them, who spoke with Love News, said he has personally been warned by the guy to stop his normal education program he runs on radio or face his wrath.
For Boyo, as I know him, Boyo. Okay, we are in the same community with him.
Meanwhile, police in the Ashanti region have begun investigations into the matter. They are ever yet to pick the suspects. Let's delve deep into this matter, because joining me via Zoom for more is Emmanuel Bombande. He's conflict resolution, peace building and development expert. Mr. Bombande, I'm grateful that you joined us. I'm sure you've been following this conversation from when the gentleman in question pulled the pistol a few days ago. What do you make of these fresh allegations?
Good evening, Nasha, and good evening to all your viewers. Yes, I've been monitoring the incidences of violence, particularly the one in Abuabo that you referred to, and it's very disturbing. It's something that draws our attention again to the period in which we are preparing for a major election. And the first question that comes to my mind is, should the people of Ghana every 4 years go through this cycle of trauma, anxiety, and violence? And the more I ask myself these questions, I frame it rather as an urgent need that is also collective, and particularly to be led by the police, to ensure that we end all the incidences of violence we are seeing, such as in Abuabo, in order that we can truly prepare for a peaceful election in December. In other words, there is a causal link between these incidences and what is likely going to happen in December. We cannot delink what we are seeing now from its potential to spill over into December. And the true test of the police is how they assured the people of Ghana that they can deal with these incidences now. And that assurance can carry itself forward to December. If they let what we are seeing happening go out of hand, then Ghanaians can as well brace themselves, because then the indication, the sign will be that in December, the police will not be able to handle the violence that could wait us.
The two major political parties, the NDC and MPP, say they do not see anything wrong with their supporters, talk less of cautioning and helping solve the matter. Are you satisfied with their responses so far?
Well, first of all, let me make a specific reference to the video clip that you have shared with us. Is this man a political operator? He claims he operates as a national security. So the first concern is that he's taking advantage of a national security system in which you actually do not know the operatives to assume that is national security. So the first thing is the national security must come out and disown this man so that the people of Ghana know that you cannot just go around and call yourself national security when you are not. And if the police are proactive in doing these type of things, we can then take the statements of the political parties as serious as they are. Because I want to believe that in the competition, the political parties will not be deliberately orchestrating violence. But the violence is being orchestrated in such a way that the political parties are not the only actors. You have other actors. I'm sure very soon we'll begin to hear about the setting up of the National Security Coordination Task Force for the elections. And was it last week, the chair of the Electoral Commission, she came out to say that the commission cannot be held accountable to the violence. So you see the need for an interdependence of various institutions to end the violence. The political parties are one stakeholder. The security agencies are the front line when it comes to peace and security. And to that extent, I see the interlinkage. So that when we talk about the role of the political parties, their assurances are not enough as long as they are not the ones in control of actors on the ground who are either using the name of the police or the security to abuse and violate the laws established.
Now, if things remain like this in an already charged atmosphere leading to elections, Mr. Bombande, what's the reality going forward?
So first of all, my good sister, let me quickly expand the reality. The reality is that we are faced with a global coronavirus pandemic in which the global economic outlook is grim. And everybody, including the top economists, the World Trade Organization just predicted that there will be a major economic recession. That internally will continue to impact. So as we struggle to deal with our responses, the last thing we want to add is violence in our politics leading to elections. Ghana cannot cope with election violence on top of dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. That is why elections 2020 will be different from 2016 or 2012 or 2008, precisely because in these other elections, we struggled within our means to conduct peaceful elections. In 2020, we are trying to conduct credible and peaceful elections in an environment of a global pandemic. I also want to add that when we look at it from this frame of mind, it is more urgent for everybody to know that it's in our hands. We have a capacity to make the elections peaceful. We might not have been the ones who brought about the pandemic, but we are the ones who can bring about the peace. And that is why it doesn't matter what the Electoral Commission is able to do. It doesn't matter how we evaluate their success. The elections will not be credible if they are also violent. So in order for the elections to be credible, they must also be peaceful. So every stakeholder must be involved. The voices of citizens, women organizations, political parties, and the interests of Ghana first, above everything else, is more important today than ever before.
I'm grateful, extremely grateful for your time. Mr. Emmanuel Bombande is a peace building and conflict resolution and development aspect. And he's been talking about the pockets of violence we're experiencing in some registration centers. So other stories on Joy News Prime. We'll take the rest of the stories shortly after this break. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. There was drama at the Supreme Court on Thursday as renowned lawyer Chacho Chikata refused to argue the NDC's review of the voters register case. According to him, he had just received documents filed by the Electoral Commission and was therefore unable to argue the case. The Supreme Court has ruled that the EC can compile a new register as it excluded the use of birth certificates and existing voter cards as proof of identification. The NDC had wanted this decision set aside through the review application. The court, however, disagreed. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has more in the following report.
The initial case was heard by Chief Justice Kwesi Eni-Nyeboah and Justices Jones Doche, Paul Bafuboni, Sule Gbadegbe, Samuel Mafusau, Nene Amegacha, and Professor Ashikote. But the NDC filed for a review with Justices Yawapel and Mariama Owusu joining the panel. The NDC also filed a request for the case to be heard earlier than usual. The court granted this request, but Mr. Chikata said he was unable to argue the case. He said his junior Dr. Dominic Ayeni had written to the Chief Justice suggesting that the case be heard during the vacation. He also wanted time to file additional documents. The court took the view that the request to file additional documents was not supported by law. The Apex Court directed Mr. Chikata to move his review application, but he refused, saying he needed more time. Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Damit therefore urged the court to dismiss the case. The court granted the request, saying the review application was without merit. Member of the NDC's legal team, Abraham Amaleba, says the court's decision flies in the face of justice.
Also, affidavit was served on us very late. And so there was the need for the counsel, Chachikata, to apprise himself. He wasn't going to be able to move the motion to assist the court to arrive at an effective decision. And so Chachikata was of the view that just grant me an adjournment, which will enable me read through the processes that were filed and served on me whilst I'm on my feet. The Supreme Court will not take none of that.
The Deputy AG says you are running away from your own application.
The Deputy AG knows very well that if a process is filed on you while you are in court and you have not been able to look through that process, you request for time. You ask the court to give you a short adjournment to be able to look at the opposition's affidavit. The Deputy AG was on the frolic of his own. Indeed, he only played to the gallery. He knows that in the practice, you do not go ahead to move a motion when an affidavit has been served on you and there are some substantive issues that you must address in that affidavit in opposition. I think that the Deputy Attorney General was played to the gallery on this occasion.
This brings an end to the NDC's quest to have the voters' card used as part of the ongoing registration exercise.
Let's now turn our attention to COVID and education, because the Ghana Health Education Service has outlined the protocol for senior high school Form 2 students exit as they vacate on Friday, July 31. A joint statement from the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana Health Service said students from schools where no case of COVID-19 has been recorded can vacate and go home. The two services also urged the public to support the final year students with prayers as they continue with their exit exams. The statement reads, the president, as part of his gradual easing of restriction imposed on the country as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, ordered a partial opening of schools of final year and second year gold track students to enable the final year students to prepare for their final semester program. And the students reported to school On the 22nd of June, by God's grace, the students have gone through their program successfully. Management of GES and GHS wish to use the opportunity to thank and appreciate all staff of GES and the Ghana Health Service. It continues to say, management is hugely indebted to you for your commitment, and we also want to express our profound gratitude to government for its support and the president for his resolve to see that the future of these children is not compromised by the outbreak of the coronavirus. Now, the protocols for the vacation, they announce any school where no positive case of COVID-19 has been recorded, the students can vacate and go home. Any school that had a positive case but has not reported any new positive case within the last 2 weeks, the students can vacate and go home. And 3, any school that had a positive case within the last 2 weeks or contacts within the GO track will have their vacation delayed for assessment and observation before they can be allowed to go on vacation, and parents of such students will be notified. Management of GES and GHS take the opportunity to urge the general public, especially parents, to continue to support our final year students with prayers as they continue with the final year exams. Meanwhile, 7 new COVID-19 deaths have been recorded in Greater Accra and Ashanti regions, bringing the national total to 182. 5 males and 2 females died from complications, including anemia, kidney failure, and hypertension.
Next chart to show you the number of deaths per day, and you can see it just aligns with the June one. But currently, the reported number of deaths have significantly come down, and we hope this trend will continue as we go on. We added about 7 more deaths in the last update, and they've come from mainly from 5 from Ashanti and 2 from Greater Accra. Majority of them were males, 5 males, 2 females, aged between 33 to 60 years of age. About 4 of them, we do not have any known comorbidity. We are not saying no comorbidity, no known comorbidity, but that's what happened. But the rest were anemia with renal, kidney failure, hypertension, and another one with diabetes and hypertension. And these are the ones that are reported deaths. These are not very recent deaths, but these are when we now finish the audits and be able to add them.
But the good news is active cases continue to decline. Let's now look at our general case count on the graphics. And active cases stands at 3,223. Recoveries and discharge stands at 32,096. Deaths stand at 182. And a total test conducted 391,378 currently. She was one of the frontline workers who dealt with Ghana's initial cases of COVID-19, but the numbers would increase and require more than what any health worker was prepared to give. Evelyn Nakidowuna soon left her home to take up residence at the East Municipal Hospital. This meant leaving behind her own mom and her 9-year-old son. Here's a story about a mother on the front line.
Hello. Yes, how are you? I'm fine, Mom.
A tired mother looks straight at the electronic device before her. She laughs. The tablet is the safest way to touch base with family, but keep her distance as she works to save lives. Evelyn Nakidowuna is Quality and Safety Manager, Infection, Prevention and Control at the Ghana East Municipal Hospital. Her job involves ensuring that the facility meets world standards in treating COVID-19 patients. Over 400 patients have been here in the past 5 months with an encouraging rate of recovery. Evelyn is a mother of a 9-year-old who has always been close to his mother.
I've missed you.
Yes, I miss you too.
Evelyn has been living in a facility provided by the hospital for the past 5 months, sacrificing family time on her patients.
I moved in for the ending of beginning of March, and so I have to put in a whole lot. I haven't been able to go. I was able to go home once. We do a lot of WhatsApp call, video call to see them and talk. But if I had to go do some, my mom wants to see me So he has a way of saying it. I bought something for you because you're not able to go to the market. Come for this nice dress, come for this shoe. Just ask permission and go and see them. They was like, oh, won't you sleep for today? No, my job doesn't mean I should sleep.
And with rising cases of coronavirus, she barely has time for anything else.
At times I even forget to eat. So one of them who has taken the responsibility, madam, you haven't eaten. Then just give me a reminder.
She thanks God for the staff of the Ga East Hospital who look out for each other within the period.
They are my deputies, I will say that. And so they've actually been able to man the front. And so I just get, instead of reporting at 6 a.m., I now come at 8:30. They've really helped me a lot, and I cannot do without them. And I say big thank you to them.
But her biggest motivation is little Emmanuel Anan, her son, living with her own mother, whom she checks up on from time to time. The love keeps her strong. The little boy's understanding of his mother's duties keeps her sane at such a period when she sacrifices to aid Ghana combat COVID-19.
I hope the president will want whatever you're doing and appreciate you.
Oh, okay. They will hear, okay? But you have to stay safe for me, okay? And put on, well, use your sanitizer often, okay? I will stay safe. You to stay safe, okay?
PSC Nanaya Safo, Joy News.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm back here in the studio. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Still to come in this bulletin, Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, makes bold declaration by comparing 3 years of Akufo-Addo's administration to that of the country's first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Famous statement that if free SHS was doable, Nkrumah would have done it. Can I also then say, since His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has delivered the free SHS, his government probably is better than Nkrumah's government.
And in business, National Labour Commission reveals 48% of COVID-19 related job losses were carried out unfairly.
There should be grounds for termination. But there's this erroneous impression about the fact that, you have the right to hire and fire.
Details with business when Charles Aite takes over.
Hello everyone, it's time for business. Now, players in Ghana's employment space minced no words in the just ended Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable as calls for a review of existing labor laws to suit the COVID-19 scourge dominated discussions. Now, a key subject for discussion was the matter regarding the massive layoffs that have affected thousands of households. Although these layoffs may be justified, the National Labour Commission says 48% of them are unfair. There is more in this report. Have you lost your job due to the coronavirus pandemic? It may interest you to know that your dismissal could be unfair. This and many other job-related issues were discussed at the just-ended Jobs and Salaries Roundtable organized by Joy Business. Deputy Commissioner at the National Labour Commission, Rose Karikari Anand, explained that 48% of terminations are unfair, arguing that notice of termination must be a month or 3 weeks.
In the labour law, there's termination, and then there's unfair termination. Termination which is fair and the one which is not fair. The one which is not fair, in fact, if you look at the cases coming to the National Labour Commission, it constitutes about 48% of cases that we receive from complainants, bordering on unfair termination. There should be grounds for termination. But there's this erroneous impression about the fact that, you have the right to hire and fire, the common law, hire and fire. So how do you come to it the next morning and then your boss says that, gives you a letter that you are terminated? Which reason? No reason given. But notice is given. Notice, the law says minimum, depending on your contract. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 1 month minimum.
One major challenge befalling government when it comes to the exact number of job losses in both informal and formal sectors has been the absence of available data. Taking his turn on the Joy Business Jobs and Salaries Roundtable, Deputy Minister for Employment, Bright Rekubobe, assured that data covering job losses related to COVID-19 will be ready in the next 2 weeks.
One challenge we have as a country is data. We really are battling with data. We need to know the numbers. We need to know the numbers. As you had a paper I gave you, you only have about 7,000, which is woefully inadequate. And that's why I said we are doing a holistic one.
And that will be the formal sector.
Yes, and this is primarily the formal sector.
The roundtable saw discussants push for a possible review of some sections of the Labour Act, which does not serve their purpose in these COVID-19 times. Well, meanwhile, the Deputy Employment Minister, Bright Rekubobe, has disclosed to Joy Business that government has secured some $30 million funding from the World Bank to establish employment placement centres across the regional capitals.
Already had approval with World Bank granting us, it's a holistic package of about $200 million, 30 or so of which is coming to the Employment Ministry to refurbish, among other things, our public employment centers. We hope in this process to refurbish 16 centers and targeting one in each region to ensure that the young graduates go there, key in their qualifications and so on, and then we do job matching and link them to jobs. Oh well, once it's taken under the budget, it's going to be rolled out. Already everything is fashioned out. The project is rolling out from January 2021. The other one is the insurance for the unemployed that we talked about, but that needs to really think through and then come out with modalities on how to roll this out. The Social Partnership Council is the one in charge at the moment. That is the tripartite constituent, the employers, the labor, the government sitting together to do a solid brainstorm and to come out with the modalities how to roll this out. And we are sure one constraint is data. And as we battle it out and get data, modalities to run around in the absence of data, how to get people, benefiting from this kind of thing. So it's kind of a work that will go on beyond what he has mentioned. We need to look at it very well.
Now, about 22 million people experienced reduction in their income levels as a result of COVID-19. That's according to the COVID-19 Household and Job Survey conducted by the Ghana Statistical Service. The telephone survey was carried out in partnership with the World Bank and the Statistical Service to measure change in income and household activities during the outbreak. There is more in this report.
The study is planned for a 7-month period to help assess mobility across different dimensions of living conditions as a result of the effect of the virus. The intention is to follow over 3,000 households from all 16 regions of Ghana through telephone-based interviews. The survey found that 77.4% of households in Ghana experienced a decrease in their income since March 16, 2020, when COVID-19 restrictions were first introduced.
And also this ties in very much well with some of the interventions that was announced by the Honorable Minister for Finance and were rehashed by His Excellency the President of the Republic, especially the one focusing on issues related to unemployment as a result of COVID-19. Nationally, 77.4% of households reported that total household income had reduced since March 16. This relates to about 22 million Ghanaians. With our current population of about 31 million, if 77.4 persons indicated that total household income went down since March 16, this implies that about 22 million of Ghanaians were affected by the reduction in income as a result of COVID-19.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina Enim disclosed that Greater Accra region is the least affected when it comes to the effect of COVID-19, even though it has the higher number of cases recorded.
And that's it for business. Sport is up next with Gary L. Smith. To stay.
for staying with us on Joy News Prime. I'm Gary L. Smith with the sports. Members of the Ghana Football Association want 51 articles in the current statutes put together by the now-defunct Normalization Committee replaced. The association will convene for an ordinary congress on the 27th of August, and clubs have tabled a proposal to the FA to have those 51 articles debated and replaced or expunged altogether.
At least 33 members of Congress are required to force the changes to the statutes of the GFA, but more than 43 members have so far written and signed a resolution to call for the changes to the GFA statutes. Clubs from all the top tiers of Ghana Football Federation, as well as some regional bodies, have supported the motion for the reforms of the statutes that are currently governing football in the country. Clubs are demanding 51 changes to the articles of the GFA statutes, insisting that it is not truly representative of their interests and the interests of Ghana football at large. The changes to the statutes was mooted by the chairman of the Bono Ahafo Regional Association, Ralph Jamra, and has now gained widespread support among Congress members to force the change. Among the top clubs who have supported the changes are Premier League sides Wafa, Karela, Bechim United, Ashanti Gold, Liberty Professionals, Elmina Sharks, Ediana Stars, Midiama SC, Biswa Dwarfs, and King Faisal. Several Division 1 sides have also lent their support to the changes, seeking to bring sanity to the football administration in the country. Women's league clubs have also supported the move. Among the changes being demanded are the increase of the number of members of Congress, where the number of RFA representatives, Women's Premier League are increased from 8 to 16, while the RFA are demanding an increase from 2 to 3 to cover the broader interest of football in Ghana. The members are also demanding that there should be an increase to the number of members of the Executive Council by 7 to ensure broader views in the Council. They are also calling for the number of Premier League clubs at the Executive Council to be increased from 5 to 6, whilst Division 1 clubs want to be 5 at the Executive Council, with the RFAs also increased from current number of 2 to 5, with 2 slots left for the women's elite clubs. The other key change being sought after is to reduce the agitation, tension and anxiety that surrounded the recent GFA election, with the proposed changes seeking clarity and simplification of the electoral process. Portion of the proposal submitted to the Ghana Football Association and in possession of Joy Sports reads, and I quote, "For the elections of the president, where there is only one candidate, the Congress may decide to elect him or her by acclamation. Otherwise, if there are 2 or fewer candidates, a simple majority of more than 50% of the valid votes is necessary." The proposed changes document said, if there are more than 2 candidates for the election of president, the first 2 would be picked to enter into a runoff, after which a simple majority shall determine the winner. A majority of members of the GFA Congress are said to be unhappy with the current statutes put together by the now defunct Normalization Committee.
And that's the sport for this moment. I'm Gary L. Smith. Thank you for your time. Don't forget that you can follow the conversations and more on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And it's time now for showbiz. Award-winning Ghanaian actor Prince David Osei says he has not seen any works of the National Film Authority since the inauguration. The governing body of the National Film Authority was inaugurated by the president in December last year, which was tasked with the responsibility of ensuring an economically self-sustaining and culturally conscious industry. In an interview with IB, actor Prince David Osei outlined his expectations of the authority.
The Film Acts Committee, 6 months after being set up, would you say you're, okay, you're excited so far with what they've done?
Well, few days ago, I was speaking to one of the reps from the National Film Authority, and I was like, I've not really seen what they are doing. What are they doing? Because ever since the inauguration, I've not really seen anything. They can start by doing the classification of our movies and making sure things are happening. What they told me was they were now building their platform, and very soon they are going to start engaging us and engaging the stakeholders in the movie industry. So it's taking a bit of time, but let's wait and see what they come up with.
And actor Bila Samoa has lauded government for its decision to give 50 million Ghana cedis to the creative arts sector. According to him, some movie producers have benefited from these support funds from the Ghana Tourism Authority. He's, however, advising movie producers to use the monies for the right purposes.
really seriously needed that, and thank God the government has come to aid us with that much. I know about a couple of them that they've done so far. A few of the producers have been able to access some funds from GTA, a support fund from GTA, and then they've been able to shoot 1 or 2 movies. These are not normal times. COVID has come to disturb us all. But if the government is coming up with such a relief, we are happy and we are grateful. That is what the government is supposed to be doing for us as an industry, support us where we need help. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but a very good advice to the producers. When they get the money, they should use it for what it is meant for. That is it. The reason is that we had Xylophone coming on board to support us along the line, but a couple of producers got the money and they had to switch and then all that. And I think the monitoring was not that strong, so they did not help that much with that fund. But this time around, this is coming from government. And I think the measures that will be put in place, definitely, anybody who takes or gets something from the government in terms of the support that is coming, they will use it for the right cause.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. Our Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has for the second time in 5 made a bold declaration by comparing 3 years of Akufo-Addo administration to that of the country's first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The minister in March this year made similar declarations when the administration distributed pickup trucks and motorcycles to directors of education and circuit supervisors at the Black Star Square. Speaking at the commissioning exercise of some 100 buses to senior high schools in the northern sector Thursday, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh said by implementing the free senior high school policy, the Akufo-Addo-led administration has outperformed successive administrations, and asked if it is safe to say they've also outperformed the administration of the country's first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Latif Idris has the rest of the story.
Educational institutions, particularly the second cycle institutions, are bedeviled with plethora of challenges that are not helping the school administrations to properly run the schools. Cognizance of that, government in March this year promised to make provisions of buses to these schools to help the administrators properly manage the schools. Today, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has officially handed over 100 buses to second cycle institutions in the northern sector of the country. In his words, these buses are to help the school administrators to properly manage the schools.
First, I handed over 365 double cabin pickup trucks out of 840 procured by the government. These were distributed to all metropolitan, municipal, and district directorates of education, as well as selected agencies under the Ministry of Education. The remainder of the pickups are arriving, as the Minister for Education has said. I also handed out on that day 493 out of 2,000 motorbikes to aid the work of circuit supervisors and to further enhance their supervisory roles in the education sector. I further announced on that day that government had procured 350 buses for our senior high schools in the country, 100 of which would be distributed soon. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered here in fulfillment of that promise to distribute the 100 buses, because we have a president who is fully committed to education of our children and who believes in keeping his word.
Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, also had his turn to address heads of senior high schools gathered here, and he made a very daring statement.
This nation has witnessed the free senior high school project, Mr. Vice President. I do recall the 47 adverts that were made to undermine the free senior high school program in 2012. I do recall a famous statement that if free SHS was doable, Nkrumah would have done it. Can I also then say, since His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has delivered the free SHS, his government probably is better than Nkrumah's government.
So how are these buses going to help the school administrators to properly manage the schools? I'm joined by one of the headmasters of one of the schools in the northern sector. You introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Akuba, headmaster, St. John's Integrated Senior High School in Navrongo.
In Navrongo?
It is the only school, second cycle institution that integrates the hearing and the hearing impaired.
Oh, wow. You are a special school indeed. This has come in handy, you would say.
So, thank you very much. Actually, with what we have just received today, I don't even know how to express my feelings. And I know when I go back to school, my students and members of staff will feel the same. Because this shows that actually the inclusiveness, government is actually supporting it. Yeah.
So the Vice President mentioned that there are several challenges facing second cycle institutions with administration. You don't have enough logistics, one of which is vehicle.
Yeah.
How is this going to change the way you manage and run the school?
Yeah, for now that we have this, at least any activity outside the school compound, we are in a position to convey our students and to bring them back, even if it involves members of staff. We can do it comfortably without going to elsewhere to ask for an assistance.
I'm Anna Millicent Agamba. I'm the headmistress of Gambigo Community Day Senior High School.
From which of the regions?
Upper East Region, Zarungo.
Upper East Region. You're welcome to Accra.
Yeah, thank you.
How is this bus that you are going back to the Upper East Region with, how is it going to change the way you manage and run your school?
It's going to change a lot because this alone is going to be one of the enrollment drive for my school. My school, the students are few. And with this, we can get more students to come to the school. Yes. And since the school started, we haven't had any bus. So this is the first bus.
How long has the school been in existence?
Since 2018.
Okay, so you are 2 years in operation?
Yes.
And this is the first bus you are receiving from GetFund?
The first means of transport that we are receiving from GetFund. It has been hectic. It has been hectic. We do all errands from our own packets. And now, just as the Vice President said, it will help us in the administrative work. I'm very, very happy, and I know my students will be more happy.
Minority in Parliament is asking government to pull brakes on plans to implement the Customs Amendment Bill banning the importation of salvaged accident vehicles and second-hand cars more than 10 years old. The bill, which was passed in March, seeks to provide incentives for vehicle manufacturers that have set up plants in Ghana under the Ghana Automotive Manufacturing Development Program. Implementation is expected to begin in November. But ranking member on Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee, Kwame Agboja, says the law is not in the interest of the country.
Notice that we thought that was a good thing to encourage local production of goods, whether it's agro-processing or car manufacturing. It is a good thing. The part that we are not happy about is when, before the manufacturing, you have written in the law, you said shall be granted. So anybody who is part of the Ghana Automotive Development under that program, you shall grant them the right to import fully built vehicles. And we are saying that so far, we have been shown pictures of VW Polo being assembled. That is why I asked you, how many VW Polos did you find on the way when you were coming here? So it is not a situation where we are against the production of vehicles. We are saying that the way you've crafted the law, by even giving all taxes and tax exemptions to the manufacturers as against the local importers, you have already skewed the market to the extent that if you even sell VW Polo for 60,000, how many nurses, how many teachers? And we are saying, do you think Ghanaians can afford new cars and have chosen to buy used cars? No, it's because of the purchasing power of the people. So we are not against VW assembling vehicles. We We welcome them. Toyota, everything. They've been here for a while. But if you give the same condition to the local importer, they could sell cheaper. In fact, they told us they could sell cheaper than 60,000. So the president is not doing us any favor. He's basically going to do exactly what he did to the banks by collapsing the local. And guess what? The impact of this will be worse than the banking crisis, because the number of people at Abosokai, at some magazine, it goes all the way to every corner of this country, and we don't think this law is forward-looking. It is too skewed to a few at the detriment of livelihood of thousands, and we don't think it's appropriate. And the fact that the finance minister and the trade minister are already showing signs of betraying the house. They told us they will lay an ally before they start implementation of some of the things. Now, we can see them telling the people 1st of November. Where's the ally? Secondly, part of the law gives the finance minister the right to even allow you to import salvage vehicles anyway. For us, that will just heighten the cronyism at a level.
But Communications Minister Esla Owusu-Ekufo has been defending the law. She says it will help provide local jobs for Ghanaians.
On the other side, as usual, scaremongering, poisoning the debate, seeking to turn a section of the economy against the government, and bastardizing a very well-intentioned policy that we all agree will provide long-term benefits for us. What they want to do is to what? Create, loot, and share today, without thinking about the impact of their policies on sustainable jobs and livelihoods and the development of our economy over the long term. Unfortunately for them, the Akufo-Addo administration builds to last. We put in place policies that we will continue to derive benefits from over the long haul, not just for populist gain. Yes, there may be some temporary, any change, any new thing comes with change management. And the beginnings of everything has teething problems. And if you take your time and work it through, ultimately, the main objective that is needed to be attained will be attained. But it means all stakeholders have to go sit around the table and find ways to resolve whatever teething difficulties are there. They said the same thing about digital property address system. Hey. Today, we are all using it. They said the same thing about mobile money interoperability. Hey, it's not going to work. Hey. Today, it is benefiting the system. Paperless ports, they kicked against it the same way. But of course, if you don't understand the vision which is motivating the policies that have been put in place, you will come and make the same pedestrian arguments that I heard here this morning. This local assembly of vehicles is a good thing. And any local manufacturer who also wants to take advantage of the provisions of the law is free to do so. I know for a fact that the Ministry for Finance alone has purchased over 200 Kantanka vehicles and is supporting that industry all the way. So I fail to see how they can come and say that this policy is going to collapse the local automotive industry. On the contrary, it is going to complement it, create ancillary job opportunities in there, and grow our automotive industry, not just for the use of Ghana, but for export to the sub-region as well, so that it can give us sustainable jobs. If COVID hasn't taught us anything at all, it's taught us to be self-reliant and look within to see what we can do for ourselves. There will come a time when instead of using our hard-earned foreign exchange to import goods, we will be earning hard-earned foreign exchange by exporting goods which have been locally produced here, not just for the Ghanaian market, but for the sub-regional market as well.
Accessibility ambassadors of the Ghana Society for Physically Disabled in the Oti region are calling on political actors to ensure peace prevails during the entire process leading to the December polls. According to them, the various violent activities that have characterized the ongoing voters registration exercise so far is an indication of what could happen during the December polls. They are calling on civil society organizations to bring their voice to bear on the violent acts, since any escalation would compound the already challenged status in society. Correspondent Peter Seno has more in the following report.
Already, our problem is a challenge to us. So we don't want anybody to compound our problems.
That is Hojo Emmanuel, a member of the Accessibility Ambassadors of Ghana Society for the Physically Disabled. Members in the KJB district and in Kwanta South municipality have received a day's training on ensuring peaceful December polls. For vulnerable groups as women and children, the women say any disturbance of the current relative peace would destabilize their families. Agnes Awuno speaks for the women. As a mother, any form of conflict would worry me and my children. I do not know where to put them in such conditions, and so we need peace. Hojo Emmanuel is the leader of Accessibility Ambassadors in the KJB district. According to him, they cannot afford compounding their status, which is already disadvantaged.
Already, our problem is a challenge to us. So we don't want anybody to compound our problems. If there is war, person with disability cannot run. When people are running, you cannot run. When people are climbing trees, you cannot climb trees. You cannot do anything. You will be there and then die just like that. And that is what we are against. That is why we are crying for peace. After the elections, we want Ghana to remain Ghana. It's as simple as ABCD.
Dr. Diodat Adaunchi is the leader of the group in the Oti and Volta regions. He is calling on civil society organizations to bring their voice to bear on the matter and strict enforcement of the existing laws by the police.
We have observed from the political actors, and the evidence is very clear. If you really read through the daily graphic of just last week, you will see that the EC boss himself has admitted that political actors have to be blamed for the pockets of violence that is now emerging with the registration exercise. The Catholic Bishop Council also asked or demanded that the short commission report should be implemented to the latter. And a few other individuals, including the president himself, declaring that the election should be more on a leadership comparison between the two major parties, which the other parties also admitted. So it's just about the things that are emerging now, the trends that we have seen, and also learning from history. So we don't want to take the peace of this country for granted at all. All that we have to do is to ensure that we enforce the law and ensure that that law, in the enforcement, we are not biased. Whether you are in power or you are in opposition, when you come out with any incident or any activity that is within the vigilante activities according to the law, we should make sure that the law is working. When somebody comes out with anything that can actually affect the peace of this nation adversely, we can mobilize ourselves and condemn that particular. So for me, naming and disgracing, let's name and shame anybody who wants to associate him or herself with any act of vigilantism within our system here or our constituencies. So that if all of us together protect the peace, we'll have a peaceful election, and Ghana democracy can only grow and become a beacon for Africa.
Peter Senu for Joy News.
The Oti Regional Minister Kwesi Owusu is calling on those who have not yet registered to, as a matter of democratic participation, register to be part of the change they so desire to see. According to the minister, to sit on the fence would only mean to give opportunity to the few majority to decide who leads them. The minister's comments come on the back of the relatively low turnout observed at most of the registration centers visited in the Oti region. The minister was interacting with Joy News' Oti regional correspondent Peter Senu during his visit to registration centers in parts of that region.
The Oti Regional Minister Kwesi Owusu-Yeboah visited over 20 registration centers in Biakuye, Bwem, and the yet-to-be-created constituency for Sandro Kofi Akpafu, Lulubi and Likpe areas. It was during his visit to registration centers in parts of the region that he took the opportunity to register at the EP Primary School at Apisokubi, his hometown. The minister is urging residents in the region to get registered and participate in the democratic process rather than sitting unconcerned, allowing just a few majority to decide who leads them.
If you're a citizen of a country and you don't register, it means that you have disqualified yourself from exercising your franchise when elections are being held. If you are not perhaps happy about certain developments in the country, I think the way to go about it is to register and to exercise your franchise in a manner that will enable you to get the government of your choice, a government that you believe is efficient, is competent, and will provide for you. But if you stay away, then I'm afraid it means that you have completely incapacitated yourself, you have deprived yourself of the right to influence the choice of leaders who make decisions for you. So I would strongly advise that whatever the frustration, the disenchantment, the disillusionment that anybody claims to have suffered, it is still important that they register so that they will have the capacity to exercise their franchise in the upcoming elections. It is a question of determining what political leadership you want. And if you are not on the register, you cannot exercise that franchise. So I would beg of them that whatever their views, they should not deprive themselves of the right to determine who should rule this country, whether as a president or as a parliamentarian.
Apart from the relatively peaceful process, Joy News can confirm the malfunctioning of some Kojak fingerprint scanners at Likpe, Akpafu, and at least 2 of the centers visited in the Biakuye constituency. This has slowed the process of registration considerably. It took this student at the Rara SHS Center over 10 minutes to get her fingers scanned to allow for further processing.
Oh, getting to about 10 minutes now. 10 minutes? Yes. So is that what is delaying the process? That's the only thing which is delaying the process. We were asked to use shea butter. We have done it still. It's not capturing. So we needed to do it individually. With the individual fingers too. That one is giving us problem.
Some thermometers are also observed to have recorded as low as 28 degrees Celsius for adults. Peter Senu for Joy News.
The running mate of the NDC flag bearer, Professor Nana Jeno-Pokuagyemang, has been defending her decision to join scores of senior NDC members who signed a petition for the Muntie through to be pardoned. In 2016, the former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast joined others asking then-President John Mahama to pardon the Muntie Three. But Professor Pokuagyemang has come under criticism for her decision since she was named running mate to John Mahama. But speaking on Cape Coast-based Live FM, she justified her action.
The long and short of everything is that did people take their time to listen to what the people were alleged to have done? Did they hear any rape in what they said? What was their charge in court? Did it include rape? What was the sentence? In all this, no one went to court to discharge them. The court was allowed to do its work. Those of us who took time to listen to what they said, we prevailed on them to go and apologize, and they went to apologize. They continued apologizing until their sentences were handed down.
Okay.
We did not interfere with the court process. If you look at the judicial processes, there's something called clemency. Do you mean that when someone sins or commits a wrong and the person runs to you, a mother, to intervene and beg, would you push the person into the fire?
Name from the.
Or when you beg, does it mean that you support what he did? When you have a child and a child goes out and throws stones that breaks the glass of someone's car, I know as a parent, you might have raised your child very well, but it is not always the case that they will stick to what you tell them. You might tell them, don't go to this place or don't do that, but they will go against it. Your child has gone against your words. He's done something wrong. Do you mean that the talks and all you will do to him will be in the public domain? No one heard what we told the three men in private. We said it's all right. Let the law take its course. And the law took its course. They went to jail, and we said to ourselves, we have to go and beg. Are Ghanaians telling us they've not heard this before? The former president could have intervened, but he didn't. He didn't do that. He allowed the due processes to be followed. What do we see today?
Okay. Into so be a one. Nese isancho no so nche bia na nchama hama so butu mu akata wondo wan yendam o membre ne ye na adwuma pepepepepe kesi ewie enda ye ho ebeze.
Fish species in Lake Bosumtwi falls drastically. A study by the Water Resources Commission has revealed Lake Bosumtwi has lost most of its fish species due to human activities. Excessive fishing and bad farming methods by individuals along the lake are to blame. West Africa's biggest natural lake is also said to be losing its depth and volume of water. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
The name of this water is Lake Bosumtwi. We have 22 communities around this lake. The length of the lake is 20 kilometers, 14 miles. And the area of the lake is 16 kilometers, 10 miles. And the deep is 78 meters, which is 234 feet down.
Prince Mensah is one of the teenagers who act as tour guides here. This beauty over the years is gradually losing its beauty and quality. Fish species were once numbering over 10, but had reduced significantly. Fortunately, Tilapia bosomana, an endemic fish species, is one of the few species left in the lake. Senior Basin Officer Abena Dufie Redu Breman says enforcing bylaws on the lake is first step towards protecting it.
There's a day that is set up, like a free day that nobody is supposed to go fishing. But unfortunately, this law is not being adhered to. And communities are fishing every day in the lake. So there's a lot of pressure on the lake. The areas that the fish spawn or breed should be left untouched. People are fishing these small fingerlings. And people are also cutting the vegetation where the fish hide and spawn.
Vegetation cover along the lake is being cleared for plantain cultivation. Huge acreage of land across 22 communities around Bosumtwi has been affected. Chemicals used on these farms are washed into the lake, destroying living organisms which are already exposed to excessive sunshine. Asantehene Land Restoration Project is a joint intervention by the Menshia Palace and Ohineba Poku Foundation to reverse the trend. Coordinator Fred Chase-Sapon speaks of an intervention to encourage responsible farming outside the lake's buffer zone.
We clear the land, we leave the bush to dry up and then decompose on the land so that we can cover a wide surface area and then maintain the soil moisture. So we don't do seasonal planting, we can do all year around planting. And then make sure that we limit the use of agrochemicals.
Cessation of farming along the lake will be prioritized under the program. Asantehene Land Restoration Project says it is relying on chiefs in affected communities to plant trees on illegal farms. Amekomhene Nana Edumensa Asare is chairman.
But the people have lived there over the years. That is where they have been farming. So to go and say that we need this portion of land for this purpose, you must appeal to the person's conscience.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.
And to the Bono region, Muslims across the world are preparing for the celebration of the Eid al-Adha, a festival of sacrifice where Muslims slaughter sacrificial animals in remembrance of Ibrahim's willingness to sacrifice his son when God ordered him to. This year, as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, sellers at the Techiman sheep and goat market are experiencing low sales as the prices of these animals skyrocket due to the closure of the borders. Bono East Region correspondent Anna Sabit has been interacting with these sellers and has come through with this report.
The Eid al-Adha is finally here. It is the second of two Islamic holidays celebrated worldwide and considered the holier of the two. This afternoon we are here at the Techiman sheep and goat market. We are here to find out from the sellers here how the market has been compared to same period last year. We want to know if the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected most trading activities across the world, has also affected their businesses here at the sheep and goat market. Join us as we do this quick interaction with the sellers here. First, we engaged the secretary to the Sheep and Goats Sellers Association of Techiman. Yaya Abubakar shares with me how the situation has been.
Not good as usual, because I think it may be the effect of the corona, the pandemic disease that has happened. So we have to manage. If you go to the market, you can see there are no buyers.
Others also share same sentiment with Yaya Abubakar. They all attributed their low sales to the COVID-19 pandemic. There is no money in the system as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and so we are experiencing low sales. A year ago by this time, business was booming, but this year things has changed. Asked how the pandemic is contributing to the low sales this year, Ibrahim Alidu had this to say. The COVID-19 has affected several businesses. People wish to buy the animals for the Eid, but they can't because they do not have the money. Per my interactions with these sellers, I noticed that the prices of these animals have skyrocketed compared to same period last year. Yaya Abubakar tells me that the closure of the borders contributed to the high cost of these animals this year.
Oh, it's true, the prices are higher, but it is not that we intentionally make the prices to be higher. The time we were used to going to Burkina Faso to buy the animals, to bring them here and rear them, those times the borders were closed, so it has affected us. So we are relying on the local breeds, which they are very costly. So that's our problem.
Faudullah Musa, who is here to make sales all day, he currently has over 100 sheep and goats. However, the lockdown, according to him, contributed to the high cost of these animals, as several businesses were affected as a result of the pandemic.
1,008.
This goes for 1,800 cedis because the lockdown of the borders prevented us from going to Burkina Faso for the animals. One have to spend extra money before giving access. As it stands, most of these sellers at the Techiman Central Market will not be celebrating the Eid in a joyous mood as they did the previous year. This is why.
It started since Eid al-Fitr. We did not enjoy as usual, and this Eid al-Adha too, I think it will be the same, because there are no buyers. How can you enjoy? You wouldn't even be at home, leaving your animals at the market, so I don't think we are going to enjoy the Eid al-Adha.
So this has been the situation here at the Techiman Sheep and Goat Market. My name is Anna Sabit for Joy News.
Expect your bonuses, allowances, per diems and other entitlements to be scrapped off. That's according to Director General of SIGA. The details when Charles Aite comes your way with the second part of business.
Hello once again, you're welcome to Business. Now, expect your bonuses, allowances, per diems and other entitlements scrapped if you work at any state-owned enterprise. This is because government has directed all SOEs to cut down the expenditure by about 30%. So far, 18 out of 28 of these SOEs are projected to lose in excess of 2 billion cedis by the end of 2020 due to the impact of COVID-19. I've been speaking to the Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah Boateng.
No, short for before COVID, we projected revenues to come in. I mean, in terms of dividend of 1.2. So that was a good projection that we made. That was last year, coming to early part of the 1st January. The first quarter figures show that we were going down, and that's where we started revising the notes. And then, of course, the president gave indication that we all have to look at the Plan B and how we revise our notes. And cabinet obviously had to look at all the enterprises cutting back and redrawing their programs. And so we had to engage them in what we call the COVID impact of COVID assessment programs. We met all of them, and we could see that they all dropped in revenue. So there was no way the dividend that we projected was going to come in.
This was an interview that you granted one of the media houses, I think somewhere like 2 weeks ago, a few days ago, and you made it quite clear that it should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis by all the state entities, because some are not doing that bad, but generally across board there is an expectation of about 25 to about 30% drop in budgets. But you haven't, as at now, helped us understand the exact amount, the benchmark when it comes to the capping of expenditure. To what percentage are SOEs expected to cut down the expenditure?
Well, we've been looking across board. About 30% cut down happened, but we are just in the second quarter. We just finished the second quarter, so the management accounts are yet to come in. I've seen a couple, about 3 of them have come in, so we can't just use 3 to generalize. My belief is that by the 3rd quarter, we can give you a very firm figure as to how far they've cut back. But projecting from March, we projected about 30% cutback.
And is this going to include the slash of job, salaries, job cards? What exactly is the expenditure cut going to include?
Well, what it means is that some areas where there were bonuses awarded are going to suffer, where increases in salaries may also be affected. But in terms of job cuts, not really. I haven't had any of my SOEs coming back and projecting cuts in jobs. So that is luck for us. We're grateful to their way of prudently managing within the confines of what they are faced with. And so no job losses so far have picked up. But in terms of the bonuses and allowances, we're looking at cutting some of them back. It's just to be able to manage within our limited resources.
Well, and the full interview with Stephen Asamoah Boateng airs on Monday at 5 p.m. You want to stay tuned for that. But away from that, local banks have been urged to uphold rational banking practices in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Several reports have revealed that the outbreak of the disease has led to the slowdown in capital investment and the suspension of the distribution of dividends for the financial years 2019 as well as 2020. In the case of Ghana especially. Now, speaking to Joy Business, board chairman of the Republic Bank Ghana, Charles Williams Warners, says banking activities in times like these must be targeted at protecting shareholder value.
I mean, these are uncertain times, so they're not ideal times for banking. But the services are required, and we're committed to continuing to serving our customers in the best way that we can. We have to continue to be prudent. We have to continue to watch costs, and we have to continue to make sure that risk exposure is kept at an absolute minimum in order to preserve shareholder value. We also have to start being inventive. The COVID pandemic has brought with it a completely new way of life, new challenges and a new way of life, what many call a new normal. I think what we're going to have to do, not just us, but even our competitors in the banking industry at large, is to become more inventive, and find more ways and means of satisfying our customers in these new times. Obviously, our forecasts at the beginning of the year were far more optimistic than they became by the ending of March when the pandemic hit. So we have had to become far more realistic in what our forecasts and projections for profit for the 2020 fiscal year is going to be. But we're managing that, and we are making sure in managing that we still keep an eye on crossing the barrier. I think this is not a time for risk-taking. This is a time for cautious banking. This is a time for watching your cost lines and making sure that you can preserve shareholder value. And I'm sure we will see our way through once we follow those precepts.
Managing Director of Automobile Distributors Alliance Motors, Richard Ankuma, says sales have been affected badly as a result of COVID-19. He is, however, hopeful of a pickup when the situation normalizes. Mr. Ankuma said this at the launch of the latest Land Rover model here in Accra.
Dealers in Jaguar and Land Rover cars in Ghana have outdoored the latest Land Rover onto the market. Speaking to Joy Business, Managing Director Richard Ankuma indicated that their quest to satisfy their clients remains despite the impact of COVID.
The maneuver of the vehicle has been done so well that the car is capable of not flipping over. That is so good about it. So the safety issue is one key thing that Land Rover emphasizes on, and that is what has been infused in this one. So the client or the customer or the driver feels that he's protected. Anytime consumer spending goes down, consumers look at where to cut spending. Okay, and obviously luxury is the first thing they cut. Okay, so when the economy is booming and consumers are spending, yeah, they can afford luxury. But the moment something like that hits, then everybody cuts back. So we have been affected very well. I mean, the kind of leads we have in the showroom, walk-ins and all that, we had leads even before COVID. Everybody has pulled back on spending.
He further indicated that the company in the short and medium term has no intention to establish an assembly plant in Ghana, but possibly in the future.
Volkswagen coming here is a good thing. I mean, it's not any bad thing for jobs, you know, for affordability. It's a good thing. You know, every vehicle has its market segmentation. For the kind of vehicles they are producing here, it has its own market share, and it's fine. I mean, we are not competing with them. Our vehicles are luxury vehicles, so our market is different from Volkswagen. Okay, so it's two different dynamics. But then in any case, whichever market Volkswagen is competing on, I think there's a problem with that. For us, our niche is different. Okay, so we also want a different pedestal, different competition and all that. So it doesn't really affect us. In any case, the plant coming here, that will be a long-term decision of Land Rover.
The new Land Rover comes in sleek style with artificial intelligence inculcated into its architecture to ensure safety for drivers.
Well, just before we leave, some commodity news. Gold added about $20 to end trading on the commodity market at $1,951 an ounce. Here is the update on trading today. That's it by way of business. I'm Charles Aite. Gary L. Smith is up next with sports news.
Many thanks to Charles for the business. I'm Gary L. Smith with the sport. Now, the National Sports Authority has brought to an end vetting for over 1,000 selected athletes who are to benefit from the Youth Employment Agency, the YEA stimulus package that has been given due to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. The exercise, which was fixed at the Accra Sports Stadium, was to verify the authenticity of the selected athletes by the various federations and associations. So each athlete selected is expected to receive a monthly stipend of 500 Ghana cedis from the Youth Employment Agency. It's all in the bid from the government to alleviate and lessen the impact of COVID-19 on sports people in Ghana. Now, joining us on the phone is Charles Amova, who is the Acting Public Relations Officer of the NSA, to update us on their work so far. Charles, good evening and welcome to Joy News.
Good evening, Senior.
So, your agency were doing vetting. Tell us, what criteria were you using to vet these people?
Well, let me say a good evening to our cherished listeners. and to the Honorable Minister, Honorable Kwame Efiama, who is the initiator of this whole process. The vetting committee has done its work. The exercise came to an end this evening, and there will be a mop-up for any other, individual or association who were not able to submit their list within these 2 weeks. And a final report will be sent to the Director General. And what is happening is we're overwhelmed by the number of eligible athletes for this program. So there will be a short list. Mind you, this package is for about 1,000 sportsmen and women. And we're looking at doing this short listing over the weekend. Hopefully next week, the list will be out. So I wouldn't say much about this for now. But we'll thank His Excellency, the President, for giving this opportunity for us to be able to support our brothers and sisters who are in the sporting industry, those who are not earning any income. And then this package is going to help them for the next 6 months. Hopefully, the YEA is also going to, based on the success of this package and then the exercise, they are expecting us to also collaborate with them to extend it for another 6 months. Good.
Some good summary. I mean, you've summarized everything I wanted to ask you. So thank you very much. We hope for a speedy resolution to all the vetting processes and the list to be published next week.
Thank you, Senior. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
All right, so that's a wrap for now. And the Joy Sports team is bringing you something great for the holiday weekend. We'll be sharing with you on Fan Zone. But basically, the goalkeeper of Accra Hearts of Oak and the goalkeeper of Asante Kotoko will be hosted by Joy Sports on Saturday in a grudge FIFA video game encounter. Please stay with Joy News for more details. I'm Gary.
And it's time now for Joy News Interactive. You've been monitoring the conversation in which the Education Minister, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, says that the Akufo-Addo's administration can be compared that of Ghana's first president, Sajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, with his free senior high school policy. And we posted that on Facebook a while ago. It's generated 99 comments, 14 shares, and 174 likes. Let's begin with Solo Radoski. He says, can't wait to see December 7. And Wayo John Kwabla says, Ministry of Health is recruiting doctors and dentists. I advise you to apply. Oh, okay, he's talking about something else. Gilbert says, I've been following some trends and I think Akufo-Addo and his folks just hate to hear it that Nkrumah played the most vital role in attaining independence for this country. And David Boenya says, impossible, Mr. Minister, but I'm just thinking, why Nkrumah decided to implement free education at the north and excluded the southern part? What was it politically motivated, or it was pure economic reasons? And Tafam Clinton says, look, Minister, if you take Nkrumah out of Ghana, Ghana will eventually be left with nothing. Your corruption and insensitivity is beyond monumental. And that'll be it for the interactive segment. You know how to join the conversation, facebook.com/Joy News on TV and all the other platforms. And that'll be it for the bulletin tonight also. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.